ERs across the United States are being swamped by children with respiratory infections. This is a huge issue. A lot of hospitals are actually erecting tents now to expand their ERs. Be aware that you may go to a hospital and may have to wait before you get treated. Before we jump into that a little more, let's remind everyone that this is sponsored by Genesis Gold Group. Don't like your retirement going up and down with the market? I'll talk with Jonathan and his team over at Genesis Gold Group. They have options to protect and diversify your retirement into physical gold, vaulted silver. Look for Genesis Gold Group down in the description down below and give them a call to see what they have to say about what you can do with your IRA or 401k. All right, folks, we have a lot of children's hospitals around the United States that have been converted or had pediatric wings that were converted to treat adults recently. A lot of funding came down from the federal government to treat people with the cough. In order to do that, they needed to convert things from children's wings over to adult wings. And there hasn't been funding for them to shift back to turn those back into pediatric wards and to treat children once again. And so right now what's happening is thousands and thousands and thousands of kids are getting what's known as RSV. It is a respiratory infection. It is virus. It is not bacterial. And kids are really struggling to be able to breathe. This is not something new. This is not some kind of new bug out there. This is a typical kind of cold season kind of flu. Disease that they're used to seeing. They're just not used to seeing quite so many kids getting it, especially this early in the season. And two, they're not used to seeing kids get this so severely. What is going on with that? Well, there's a lot going on with that. Partly is, every year that you get this, you get immunized against it, right? You get the flu every year. And every year, it's not so bad because you've gotten it before. If you skip a cycle or two cycles, which has kind of happened in the last year, kids haven't gotten the flu or the cold the last couple of years because we've been so trying to protect them from these things. The problem is that now that they're getting them, their body doesn't know what to do with these things. And they are seen as very foreign, very hostile infections that their bodies just are not able to cope with. Friends, not exposing your kids to dirt, exposing your kids to germs has consequences. Kids' immune systems across the United States are not nearly as strong as they were several years ago. Now, we won't get into some of the other thoughts that we have, of course, about, getting too much of this and, whether that's interacting with this. Let's talk about the things that we know for sure, and that is a lot of kids less got flu and colds last couple years, and their immune systems have not been able to adapt to the newest iterations of those. And so that's probably a big chunk of it. Now, there may be more going on there, and I'll let you guys hammer that out in the comments down below. But the powers that be won't let me talk about some of those things here. One of the other things that we're also seeing out there is that there is a lack of Tylenol and cough and cold kind of stuff out there. You go to the shelf and you're just not able to purchase, especially the children's stuff out there. And because of that, things are getting ahead of people a little more, and they're feeling like they're needing to go into the hospitals in order to get assistance with that. Whereas maybe if they had access to some of these symptom mitigators, they would be able to kind of muddle on through. But because they don't have access to these things, that's more serious too. We're going to be talking about what you can do about this and kind of how it will impact a lot of people, and how we can kind of deal with that. But so Dr. Colleen Cunningham, who's the pediatrician-in-chief at the Children's Hospital in Orange County over in California, she said, "Every children's hospital that I'm aware of is absolutely swamped. This is in the New York Times. We're not talking about some kind of thing that's popping up. This is like, if you have kids, you probably are already aware of this. If you don't have kids, you may not be aware of this. But in schools, in hospitals, everybody kind of knows this is going on. They are literally erecting tents to expand the ER capabilities of hospitals around the country right now because they just don't have enough beds. She tells how in her hospital, kids are being treated in the ER because there are no beds available, sometimes having to wait in the ER 24 hours before they can get a bed in the regular hospital. This is kind of what's going on here. We're hearing other reports out there that hospitals are working at releasing patients early because they need the beds. So they're patching people up as best they can, and then they're getting them out of the hospital before they would normally get them out of the hospital, so that they can use those beds for new patients. Now, if you think that them putting more people in beds will drive the costs down for your insurance and for you out of pocket, good luck with that. But on a more serious note, how can this impact us? Well, first thing is realizing that you should be getting exposed to germs and coughing, and it is healthy for us to be relatively exposed to the regular stuff out there. If you become isolated and in a bubble, your immune system just cannot handle when it does finally get exposed to things. So if you are immune compromised, or if your body is already under a lot of shock because of surgeries or for just being up there in age, then yeah, I mean, protecting yourself against exposures can be useful. But for most people and for their kids, you don't want to keep them completely away from other people, right? That can cause trickle-down effects like this one right here. All right, the smaller you are, the more affected by respiratory illnesses you are. It's about the tubes being small, and little kids have a lot smaller tubes, and they get blocked up by the mucus and everything like that. So be particularly aware of your kids having trouble breathing. If they are, you need to get them assistance, right? Get them to a doctor, get them to, and get them the assistance that they need. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell you what to do. All right, other things that you can do. Be aware that the ER may be a longer wait time than what you'd expect. So if you get into trouble yourself and you need to go to the hospital for some reason, be aware that it may take you longer to see a doctor than you thought. Driving yourself may actually be worse than getting an ambulance, because an ambulance comes with paramedics who will try to keep you alive until the doctors in the hospital can take over, right? If you go into a hospital and you're holding your innards in and stuff like that, might want to call the ambulance. But just keep that in mind, that ER's already swamped. They may have trouble seeing you really fast. Next thing, stock up on cold remedies, right? Some of these things, especially if you have kids, make sure you have the kids versions that can really clear up mucus and clear up stuff in the lungs, because that's where this is really hitting kids, is that they can't breathe because stuff is in their lungs. So stock up on cold remedies, because that may save you a trip to the ER. That may save you from having a more serious complication. Another thing you can do is, if you guys haven't already gotten like a Jace medical bag, you can go down in the description down below. There's a link down there for that. Jace Medical is... They prescribe antibiotics, so you have like this little consultation. It's not available in every state, and it's not available in Canada. Last I checked, it's not available in Canada. It might be now, but they can prescribe you a bunch of antibiotics that you can use in an emergency if you can't do that, if you can't get it prescribed at that time. So now these are antibiotics aren't going to work on the respiratory illness. However, what they can do, and they use this in the hospitals and stuff like that sometimes, is they use the antibiotics to kind of take the pressure off your immune system, so your immune system can focus in on the viruses. So that's not a good tactic to have, but in a pinch, it's better than nothing, right? So that, and then, you know, there's lots of other uses for antibiotics, but you can check out in the description down below to do that. I think I'm actually going to come out with a video in the next day or so about that anyway. But in addition to that, what you can do is make sure you have all the other fixings that you need for treating people at home. You can get canned oxygen on like Amazon. They have like some of these. I'll put a link down there, but you can check it out. They're not really there for like medical kind of stuff. They're more there for just like entertainment and clarity of head or whatever. I don't know, but I mean, it is canned oxygen, so there isn't quite all that much in these little cans, but you might want to have that, I guess. Some people are suggesting that. I know Canadian Preppers suggested that. I'm still on the fence of whether that's actually a move in the right direction, but you know, you guys can let us know in the comments down below whether you believe that is a good idea. I think it's Knox, so there's that. And then the other thing that you can do is really just help other people, and also if you can put any pressure on your local hospitals to like get more pediatrician beds, more pediatrics beds. Reach out, see if you can do anything to kind of help pressure them or whatever. But you can also research like what other hospitals are in your area, because like maybe you can't go to this one, but maybe you can go to that one. So and develop relationships with your pediatricians, right? Because they might be able to help you out in office, possibly, if you can't get into the hospital. I know that's we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here, right? We're scraping the bottom of the barrel because this is a really bad situation, and we're completely dependent upon the hospitals, right? So if you guys have any home brew recipes or anything like that for cold flu remedies and stuff like that, go ahead and pop them down in the description, in the comments down below. We're here to share information with each other about what we can do, but this is a very serious situation, especially if you have kids, and just be aware that that's kind of going on right now. All right, folks, if you found this video useful, helpful, you might want to check out this video right here from me. Otherwise, I will see you later. Steve Poplar, out.